Hi everyone. Today we are going to discuss about the meaning of wage administration, and further we are also going to discuss its objectives and various types of wages. Now let us first understand the basic meaning of wage. According to International Labour Organization, it is the remuneration paid by the employer for the services of either hourly, daily or weekly and also fortnightly employees. So it also means the remuneration paid to production and maintenance of blue collar employees. So it basically means that the remuneration which is paid to the employees who are engaged in hourly, daily or weekly basis in an organization is basically what is termed as wage. Now what is wage administration? See, it is a collection of practices and procedures used for planning and distributing company or establishment wide compensation programs for employees. These practices include employees at all the levels and are usually handled by the accounting department of a company. So, as we can understand, it is basically a collection of practices and procedures which are used for planning and at the same time distributing, implementing them also in a establishment. So basically we are planning what wages are to be paid to our employees, what are the different class of employees which have to be there, and also how are we going to implement all these policies. So according to Steven Kerr, whether dealing with monkeys, rats or human beings, it is hardly controversial to state that most organisms seek information concerning what activities are rewarded and then seek to do things, often to the virtual exclusion of activities not rewarded. So, this quote basically tells us that whether we talk about animals or human beings, they are basically working for reward. Okay, everyone wants reward. Whatever they are doing, they want some kind of compensation for that. So this is what it exactly means. Now what are the objectives of this? And a sound wage and salary administration is required to achieve these objectives. From the viewpoint of workers, workers are paid according to requirements of their jobs. Highly skilled jobs are paid more compensation than low skilled jobs, and this eliminates the inequalities. Very right. So when workers are paid according to the roles and responsibilities of their job, okay, then this basically is eliminating the inequalities. Okay, everything is happening in a fair way. Now the next one is job sequences and lines of promotion are also established wherever they are applicable. Yes, sequences in which jobs are arranged according to the nature of job, and also lines of promotion. How are we going to promote each worker from time to time depending on the performance? That is also pre-decided. Okay, now employees morale and motivation also increases because a wage program can be explained accordingly and it is based upon facts. Yes, you can easily explain what are the criteria on which the company has decided the wages, and this basically motivates the morale and also it improves the employees' confidence also. Now the chances of favoritism are greatly minimized, okay, as there is a proper technique followed for assigning wages for different classes of workers. Very right. Now from the viewpoint of the employers, what is the objective of wage administration? See, in dealing with a trade union, we all know that employers have to deal with trade unions in this modern era. They can explain the basis of their wage program because it is based upon a systematic analysis of roles and responsibilities in a job. Yes, they can easily explain to the trade unions which are representing the workers that how they have fixed the wages, what are the techniques, okay, they have used in fixing the wages of the employee, So this can be easily explained. And also wage and salary administration reduces the likelihood of friction and grievances over wage inequalities. Yes, very right. And it enhances an employee's morale and motivation because wages are paid by following a similar technique depending on the category of the worker. And now let us discuss the various types of wages. The first one is the minimum wage. See, it is that wage which is sufficient enough to meet the basic need of a person, that is food, shelter and clothing. And this has to be paid to him irrespective of the capacity of the organization to pay. Very right. It has to be compulsorily paid, no matter what the situation is. Okay. Because it is something that is going to be very important. Okay. That is absolutely necessary for the employee or the worker to sustain the life, to sustain his or her family's life. The Committee on Fair Wage defines minimum wage as wage provided not only for bare sustenance of life but also for the preservation of efficiency of the workers. Yes, their productivity should also be protected at the same time. Now, what is fair wage? According to the Committee on Fair Wages, fair wage is the wage which is above the minimum wage, okay, but it is below the living wage. It is fixed between the minimum wage and capacity to be paid by the employer. So it is basically a wage which is below, which is actually above the minimum wage, okay, but it is below the living wage. So worker is able to fulfill his basic need also, and also there is some extra facility, that is extra wage that is given to the employee in order to live a better life. Then the other one is living wage. It provides certain amenities considered essential for the well-being of the employee. Okay, according to the Committee on Fair Wages, the living wage should enable the male earner to provide for himself and his family not merely the bare essentials of food and clothing and shelter, but also a measure of frugal comfort, including the education for children, the protection against ill health in the form of accidental or in a form of health cover, then requirements of essential social needs. Okay, so it basically talks about the fringe benefits that should be provided to the employee so that he or she can fulfill his or her social needs. Like whenever he or she falls ill, then there should be a health cover, life insurance cover in case of sudden death, then accidental cover in case of some kind of accident that happens, okay, within the organization or outside the organization. Then children's education facility also, some kind of money that can be funded for it. Okay, so this all comes under living wage. So what did we understand today? We talked about the meaning of wage, which is nothing but the remuneration paid to the employer. We also talked about wage administration, which is basically a collection of practices and procedures which are used for planning and distributing company or establishment wide compensation programs for employees. We talked about the various objectives of sound wage and salary administration from the point of view of workers also, and from the point of view of the employers also. And we further finally discussed about the type of wages like the minimum wage, fair wage and the living wage. Now let us practice some important questions. Which among the following is the wage sufficient to meet the basic needs? Living wage, fair wage, minimum wage, none of the above. See, we discussed that the minimum wage is the wage which is sufficient enough to meet the basic need of life. Okay, that is food, clothing and shelter. So the correct answer for this would be option C. Which among the following cannot be a part of wages? Incentives, factory rent, fringe benefits, none of the above. See, we discussed that factory rent cannot be a part of this because factory rent is paid by the employer to the owner of the establishment, or basically to the owner of that building. So it cannot be a part of wages. Okay, it is something of a kind of operating expenditure. So the correct answer for this would be option B, that is factory rent. So this was all for today. Thank you so much for your time.